Hey everyone, what time is it? It's adventure time here, where we're going to talk about the soul games. As in Demon Souls and Dark Souls. I am going to make this a response video to somebody I got introduced to by one of my viewers who I'm loving his material so far. And it's simply just because the first videos I watched was just talking about the series and improvements in that. Awesome. If you're watching this, loved your videos. Haven't finished watching them yet though. But I was getting so interested in it, I wanted to make a video response. Mainly this video response is a kind of more of a bigger idea of the Covenants. I do agree that the Covenants was a nice improvement in Dark Souls, but it's getting a little warm around here. But it solely was lacking a lot at the same time. Like, it really felt like a lot of the Covenants was an afterthought. So I really do have to agree that probably cutting out a little and shortening it up would probably lead to much better focused Covenants and rewards and such. Because, I mean, let's admit it, like, the Chaos Covenants, what the hell was the point? The Princess God? I'm sorry for anyone who's legitimately in the Princess God, but I don't know anyone who was legitimately, you know, joined and stayed there forever. I mean, I'm sorry. I know there's like, what, 2 miracles you can use only in the Princess Covenant. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use any of those. Not that I'm saying they don't exist. It's just, Princess Covenant has like almost nothing. That's like the only point really, is just to get access to 2 miracles in that. Now, this is a little combination of different ideas in here. Here's an interesting idea. What if the next Soul game, which has already been announced, I don't think it was announced when you were making your videos, but you know what could be an interesting idea is take the Covenants, like 4 or 5 or something, you know, not like 8, 9, 20, and first make them in a mechanic where they're a little more invested in the story. Because while, like, say, the Moon Covenant and the Dark Side Covenant had things to do with the plot, essentially it didn't matter who the fuck you was with, though. It didn't affect the story. The only thing that ever affected the story is what you did in the end. Did you light the bonfire or did you walk away? Who you joined and killed pretty much had nothing to do with anything. If we invest the Covenants a little more into the story just a bit, and add conflict, more conflict between them, that's more prominent in the story. And here's another interesting idea. I love the idea of the branching bosses. That's an interesting idea. In other words, like have it like where it's oh, where are you? Where are you? I can't reach you up there. Ah, dang it. That's exactly the one I want right there. Oh dear. Eh. Pardon me. Ah. Yoink. It'd be like the Mana series 3rd game, where it has like 3 different bosses. You know, that adds a lot of replay value and interesting ideas. Whew. But it would have to be done really good though. Can't just be like rush. But here's an interesting idea that could also be done. Now, if you're creating conflict, let's say you create, like, you have the Covenants you make, I'd say probably the best way would be to have a 3-way direction instead of just simply a division where one side and the other side. It will create a more interesting triangle instead. You could make if possible, maybe like final bosses or sword bosses could bring in members of the Covenant into the fight. Like, could you imagine, like, you'll, like, say, let's like, use Dark Souls and Demon Souls as examples in this. Let's say you decided in Dark Souls that you wanted to be the Moon Covenant and go through their storyline revising the powers of the gods and that. And let's say you're going to go and do that, so you're defying the Darksiders and that, and there's like a special Darksider boss who's, you know, here to revive humanity and stuff, or bring in the age of man that you didn't. And you gotta go fight him, and he summons other Darksiders and shit to fight you. Players. Now, something that came up a lot in his videos was adding more challenge when it comes to multiplayer. Multiplayer always increases, like, in Demon Souls it increased the difficulty just a little bit for every person that came into the game and that, and I'm pretty sure Dark Souls was the same, but, you know, overall it's just adding a little extra HP. It's not like, we have massive new AI to kill all. This could actually fix that in a different way. Instead of just simply improving the AI massively, you could actually instead have the players themselves become improved enemies. Because who better to test your skills and might than players themselves? I mean, I could just imagine going in with a team of 2 other guys and just be like, holy shit, look, there's 4 of them in the boss, holy crap, ah! That would be awesome, you know. And, you know, obviously there'll be things different in that in Dark Souls 2. So, you know, you'll have new spells in that, and they could balance it in a way, like, like, take the monk fight. The monk fight from Demon Souls, which made a player a boss. And it also had, you know, you could do a similar way where, like, if, you know, you're playing offline or there ain't available people for the online aspect of it, it can have some kind of generic NPCs, but you could make it like the old monk fight, where you don't simply just be like everything you are and you're there. The monk fight did put a certain cap on your character. And I might be a little rusty on this because, you know, I haven't played Demon Souls. If I remember correctly, your HP has a different limit than your actual character. So, if you was under that limit, I believe it was stretched to it. And if you was over it, it was downsized to it. So you could do a balancing system that basically scaled by the world cycle. Because, you know, the difficulty increases every time you replay the game. So the kind of adjustments there can help keep things balanced. But, you know, throw in additional characters to be summoned with major bosses and stuff of related factions of the covenants. That could be a very, very interesting idea to make stories more interesting, role-playing more interesting, and PvP and PvE mixed together interestingly. Because, you know, one thing I really hate when it comes to PvP invaders, not like duelists, but just legitimate invaders, is the kind of person that's like invades and just runs to the closest hazard enemy and waits for you. It's like, yeah, bitch, come here. I got all these gargoyles and this giant knight who just want to come into the fight. Come on, you know you want. Come on. Okay, boys, get him. I'll get in the back and just. Okay, but instead of being a cheap way, it could be designed in a really interesting way that's fun for both parties. Like, for example, you know, if you're on the boss's side in his covenant and you get summoned, you can get rewards and stuff, ranking and stuff. And that's another thing it needs really improved with more covenants. The reward system was awful in Dark Souls. It was awful. There were rewards, but some of them were almost non-existent. Like, the Chaos, you barely got anything. And, I mean, Princess God didn't offer anything. It just offered the usage of 2 miracles. I mean, really, there was a ranking system placed in, what was it, up to 3 ranks for each covenant. And most covenants only had 1 reward. There was a few that had like 2 of that. But overall, they didn't have a lot of rewards. I mean, hell, the Forest Covenant has like really no reward. The thing most people would consider reward is for killing the one guy in the Forest Covenant for his backflipping wing, which is nothing to do with invading and shit. So, I mean, they really have to work a lot more on rewards if they do the Covenant system again. And I think it would be a really interesting idea, making them more story-based. Give different, like, make a story that has conflicting ideals with different covenants, either multiple covenants within a ideal, or just, you know, you could do 3 focused covenants in a triangle confliction where they all basically hate each other, so every covenant has 2 enemy covenants, or groups of covenants. You could have like a main covenant and maybe like a sub-covenant that maybe has different ideals or something, but yeah, digressing too much. I think it could be a very interesting idea. And then actually, that could be a sub thing. You have the main covenants being the main story and sub-covenants with conflicting ideals of their own covenant side, dealing as side bosses and stuff that have additional bosses for you to come and kill and hunt. That it could be a very interesting idea if it was all implemented very well. Very interesting. But that's just my little ideas there. I think that could overall be a very, very interesting for PvE, and I think it's an interesting way to mix the PvE and PvPing to where it isn't as douchebaggery. Because I didn't feel as much douchebaggery in Dark Souls versus Demon Souls, because you have so much different options with the Covenants to prevent, lower, and mix up how invading went. Versus Demon Souls was basically, I want to help people or I want to be a prick. I mean, I won't lie, I was more annoyed by invaders in Demon Souls and very less in Dark Souls. Even though I would pretty much die most of the time in both. But it felt more interesting in Dark Souls, and I think it would offer an interesting way of doing it all. And while on that with it, the thing about online with strangers, I can understand giving that up because, as you said, it's pretty much, you know, it's just a workaround. So it made sense for like Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but you know, basically the community has walked around it. You know, it's go hide somewhere. I'll meet you here, or drop my sign. You know, and we'll just kind of get connected in that. So you know, like I think like evasions and all that should be random still in that, but I think they need to develop a system with the soul signs where, like, say you make have a friend list in the game, and like friends, their soul sign a different color, like it glows maybe light blue or dark blue or something when it's a friend, and then have an option where you can privatize your soul sign if you're just trying to directly hook up with someone. I think for the community aspect, it's just best to let it die. I mean, the community has walked around it, and unless they do something different to make it more interesting, I think it would just be simpler to drop it. It was interesting for Demon Souls, I think. I think it really helped Demon Souls when it first was an interesting idea, but we're going through the third entry, and I don't think it's really working too much. I can agree with that idea. And I think that could actually, like, with these ideas, could be the good way of letting it out the door. Because if you made the Covenants more story-based and faction-based in the story, you could make it where people, you could like have little small guilds basically, like people could guild up together and stuff and take on through a storyline. Now, they would have to do it in a very interesting way, because this obviously conflicts with the idea of how not, sit down my boy, I'm going to tell you 30 minutes of content story, and you're going to have to sit your ass there and enjoy it. Instead of, hey, this, go kill things, find 500 different items with weird backstory and shit listed on them. I mean, I'm not saying we need to make more preachy NPCs and stuff in the backstory. No, I don't mean that exactly. I think it just... I just think if done right, it could be an interesting idea. Obviously, if they did it wrong, it could also turn out bad. Really, I think cutting out a lot of extra covenants would lead to just a lot tighter focus with it. I mean, I think I did like the multiple covenants. I just don't want, so many covenants that are going to feel empty with really belittled point to them. Actually, a bigger idea there would be you could have 3 covenants, the main story focus, fighting each other, and you could have sub-covenants that have nothing to do with them. Like you said, a PvP arena-based one that has no interest in the conflict, which would be interesting to the story, because, like you said, most PvP people don't care about the story usually, or the single-player campaign, just want to get weapon stuff and, fight. And actually, that would be kind of like, have them not associated at all, could earn rewards and that. That would work in this kind of setup. And then you could have a covenant like the Way of the White, where it's very noob-friendly, slightly lower on the evading, and increasing on finding people to help you in that. And, you could make a few other little sub-covenants, but I would say not branch into how many was there in Dark Souls? It was, wasn't there 9 in Dark Souls, I think? So I'd say cut down to like at least 6, unless you're going to actually put a lot of work into it. But, yeah, I think maybe just lowering it for a title focus would be a good idea. But anyway, I probably rambled on so long by now. 18 minutes, to be honest, I was kind of expecting that to be longer. But anyway, that's kind of my idea on that. Whether that actually ends up being used at all, who knows. But I'd love to hear my viewers, anyone who comes across the video, and pretty much anyone's opinions on it. I think it'd be an interesting idea, but obviously, everyone has different opinions. And preferably, let's not be like, let's try to be civilized in that, Just storing up interesting ideas. They might not be good to you, they might be good to you, they might be, there's nothing wrong with that. If you disagree, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the idea, Different people will have their different ideas. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and next time, I don't know quite yet. I've been busy lately. But until next time, it's adventure time.